There are moments in pop culture history that feel less like real life and more like the opening scene of a psychological thriller, and what happened inside Claressa Shields' locker room belongs exactly in that category. Picture the atmosphere. The crowd's roar had already dissolved into silence, the cameras were finally gone, and Claressa should have been celebrating her victory. Instead, she stood frozen before a mirror that had absolutely no business bleeding. A single streak of red rolled downward, cutting through her reflection with surgical precision, slowly shaping a name that immediately emptied the air from her lungs. Papoose. It was a name she never expected to see dripping across her mirror, especially not written in a place where only one person had access, her. Before she could even process the impossible, a voice cracked through the stillness, trembling with fury, the kind of fury that comes from betrayal so personal it shakes your soul. Tell me you did not. And when Claressa turned, Remy Ma stood in the doorway like she had just discovered the aftermath of a crime, her eyes burning with a heat that could melt steel. On the bench behind Claressa, her phone buzzed, still open to the soft launch selfie she had taken just minutes earlier. Her hand intertwined with Papoose's, his chain resting against her collarbone. His presence claiming her more boldly than 1,000 words ever could. Remy had not seen it yet. But she would. And once the world saw it too, the digital explosion would be violent. Hashtags, reactions, cancellations, defenses, and think pieces clawing at the story like vultures circling a battlefield. In that one photograph, Claressa had confirmed a rumor Remy had prayed was nothing more than online fiction. But the truth was a blade, and it had cut deep. Loyalty that Remy believed she owned, a marriage she had protected through hurricanes, a legacy she had built with blood and pride, all of it dangled on the edge of collapse. Nothing, and absolutely nothing, would ever return to the way it once was. But the truth is, Claressa Shields' story did not begin with a bleeding mirror or a forbidden selfie. Long before this scandal ignited the internet, her life had already been shaped by wars that no referee ever recorded. Claressa grew up fighting battles no child should ever know, battles in empty homes, broken neighborhoods, freezing gyms where the sound of punching bags replaced lullabies. People whispered that she was too hard, too sharp, too unlovable, but those whispers barely scratched the surface of what she carried. A father who vanished without warning. A mother whose spirit cracked under invisible weight. A childhood that taught her that loyalty was not a promise, it was a temporary visitor. And then there was Papoose, the one person who stepped into her life without flinching at her ambition, without treating her strength like a threat. They met years ago at a charity event, one of those crowded, chaotic gatherings where everyone smiles too much and means too little. Yet somehow, their conversation lasted longer than the cameras, longer than the autographs, longer than the meaningless small talk. He admired her discipline, her hunger, her fire. She admired his devotion, to his craft, to Remy, to family. But admiration becomes dangerous when it sparks in two people who have no right to touch that flame. Back then, Claressa buried the connection deep inside herself, convinced she would never revisit it. After all, Papoose was the blueprint of loyalty, the man who stayed by Remy Ma through prison time, public storms, industry politics, and every shadow that attempted to swallow their marriage. She respected that loyalty until respect twisted into longing, and longing turned into something she could not control. She tried to outrun it. She drowned herself in training camps, titles, the cold loneliness of early morning workouts, trying to bury every forbidden emotion under sweat and discipline. But life has a dangerous way of revealing what you try to hide. Years later, after one of the most painful losses of her entire career, her phone lit up with a message. It was not flirtatious. It was not reckless. It was one simple line from Papoose that cracked open everything she had sealed shut: "You are stronger than this moment." That single message became the first thread in a web of late-night conversations, about pain, pressure, expectations, and the suffocating loneliness of being celebrated by the world but unseen by the people who claim to love you. Claressa never intended for it to become emotional. She never intended to lean on a man who belonged to another woman, especially a woman as feared, respected, and battle-tested as Remy Ma. But Papoose understood her in a way no one else ever had, and sometimes the most dangerous bond is the one that feels like home. While the internet painted their marriage as bulletproof, the truth was far messier. Behind Remy and Papoose's perfectly curated image, cracks had been spreading like silent fractures under glass. Missed studio sessions that never used to happen. Cold arguments whispered behind closed doors. Rumors that kept resurfacing, only to be dismissed by fans who believed in the myth of their unbreakable bond. Their trust did not just break one day, it eroded slowly, painfully, through nights when Remy's temper collided with Papoose's tired patience. Claressa never knew the full details, but she heard the exhaustion in his voice long before she ever saw it in his eyes. Whenever Remy's name appeared in conversation, Claressa tried to pull away. She tried to delete messages, tried to silence emotions that kept slipping through her grip like water through fingers. But Papoose kept returning in small, devastatingly gentle ways. A voice note before her weigh-in reminding her that she had strength beyond metals. A playlist sent to her at 3 a.m. filled with songs that sounded like emotional confessions. A quiet, "You deserve peace too," after every brutal headline. It was emotional intimacy disguised as harmless support, but the truth is that emotional intimacy blurs lines faster than touch ever could. When Remy became entangled in a public scandal months later, something in Papoose shifted. Claressa saw it. A disappointment he did not voice. A heartbreak he did not hide. An exhaustion that clung to him like a shadow. And the night everything changed was not a romantic cliché. It did not happen in candlelight or champagne. It happened in a car parked under a flickering streetlight after an event, where two people sat with their trauma spread between them like shards of broken glass. A hand resting on a shoulder. A breath lingering too close. A whispered truth neither had the strength to stop. What began as comfort turned into a mistake neither of them could undo. Claressa carried that guilt everywhere. It pulsed beneath every victory, every spotlight, every headline that celebrated her strength. Because whenever Papoose's name trended beside Remy's, she felt her chest tighten with the weight of what she had done. Meanwhile, Remy felt something shift. She could not name it, but she sensed it deep in her bones. She noticed the late-night messages. The emotional distance. The sudden protectiveness Papoose showed Claressa in interviews. She had no proof, just fear. And fear twisted into suspicion, suspicion into rage, and rage into a quiet, calculated hunt for the truth. Claressa tried ending things more than once. She attempted cold silence, emotional distance, blocking numbers, everything. But emotions are not obedient creatures. Every time she tried to run, Papoose found a reason to pull her back with softness she had never received from anyone else. By the time they took that soft launch selfie, her hand in his arm draped around her waist, Claressa knew she was not just crossing a moral line. She was shattering it into dust. Her world of discipline and sacrifice was about to collide with Remy Ma's world of loyalty, dominance, and unforgiving pride. That blood-red streak on the mirror was not supernatural. It was not a curse. It was a warning. A final whisper that everything Claressa had buried was clawing its way into the light. And once Remy saw the truth, apologies would be powerless. Explanations would be meaningless. There would be no forgiveness waiting on the other side. The confrontation did not begin with words. It began with silence, the heavy, suffocating kind that squeezes your lungs. Claressa stood rigid, gloves still half-wrapped, her heartbeat thundering like she had stepped into a 12th round she had never trained for. Remy did not explode the way people expected her to. She did not scream. She stepped into the room with a cold, terrifying calm that felt more dangerous than violence. "Tell me you did not," she repeated, her voice trembling with betrayal, with humiliation she had not even processed yet but already felt sinking deep. Claressa wanted to lie. She wanted 5 more seconds of peace. But lies were useless now. The mirror was bleeding her guilt. Her phone buzzed again, Papoose's name glowing across the screen like a neon confession. Remy's gaze slid toward the notification, and her composure cracked. She lunged forward, grabbing the phone before Claressa could react. The screen lit up, revealing the soft-launch selfie. Claressa leaning into Papoose's chest, his lips grazing dangerously close to her temple. A picture never intended for Remy's eyes. Remy's breath collapsed inside her chest. For a moment, she did not look furious, she looked devastated. Broken. Like the ground had vanished beneath her. "So this is why he has been distant," she whispered, voice splintering. "This is why he has been acting different." She was not speaking to Claressa anymore. She was speaking to the ghosts of every memory she had built with the man she believed would never betray her. Betrayal does not care about history. It does not care about loyalty. Betrayal only cares about destruction. Claressa tried to speak. "Remy, listen," but Remy's hand shot up sharply. "Do not you dare try to soften this." The room's lights flickered, as if the entire building sensed the rage boiling between them. Claressa was no longer facing Remy Ma the artist or Remy Ma the legend. She was facing Remy the wife. The woman who survived prison with her marriage intact. The woman who built her identity on loyalty. The woman whose devotion Claressa had cracked with her own hands. Remy stepped closer, her voice low and chilling. "Do you know what you have done? Not just to me. To him. To yourself." Before Claressa could respond, a pounding knock shook the door. Both women froze. Another knock, urgent. Panicked. "Shields, you need to see this now," her coach called out. Claressa exchanged a tight, wary glance with Remy and opened the door. Her coach looked pale, almost sick, and held out his phone. "It is online," he whispered. "All of it." Her blood turned to ice. The selfie. The messages. The late-night audio note Papoose had sent her. Someone had leaked everything, fast, brutal, public. And the world was already tearing them apart. The headlines multiplied with a speed that felt unnatural, almost predatory. Within minutes the internet was drowning in chaos. Papoose cheating scandal. Claressa Shields soft launches forbidden romance. Remy Ma's marriage collapses live before the world. Receipts dropped. Champion boxer caught in love triangle with hip-hop royalty. It did not even feel like news anymore. It felt like a battlefield uncorked, every blog throwing gasoline on the fire before anyone could breathe. But the real shock came from the next wave of leaks, old screenshots of Claressa and Papoose's earliest emotional exchanges. Screenshots Claressa had never saved, meaning someone else had access. Someone had been watching them long before they realized they were being watched. Remy's face twisted with confusion and fury. How did this even get out, she demanded. Claressa did not have an answer. She barely had oxygen. Her coach hesitated, throat tight, then turned his phone so both women could see the source of the biggest viral post. It was not TMZ, not Shade Room, not any of the usual digital giants. No. It was far more personal. Posted by Lil Mo. Claressa felt her breath lock in her chest. Remy went completely rigid. Lil Mo, Remy's longtime friend, occasional confidant, frequent rival. The woman who always hovered at the edges of Remy's storms, knowing too much, talking too fast, collecting receipts like trophies. The same woman who once claimed publicly that she did not trust Papoose's energy anymore. The same woman Remy confided in during the darkest stretch of her marriage. The same woman who always looked Claressa up and down like she was calculating the moment she would catch her slipping. Remy's jaw tightened so violently it looked painful. Lil Mo, she whispered, her voice layered with fresh betrayal. She did this? Claressa's mind spun. Why would Lil Mo leak something this explosive? What did she gain? Fame? Revenge? Chaos? Or was she trying to protect Remy from something uglier beneath the surface? Claressa stepped back, pulse hammering against her ribs as another realization slammed into her like a gut punch. The blood on the mirror. The red streak. The name. Papoose. And she remembered, Lil Mo had been backstage earlier. She had hugged Claressa before the fight. She had access. She had motive. She had the perfect opportunity to plant something. And the mirror, what if it was not blood? What if it was theatrical makeup? A staged omen. A warning disguised as a curse. This was not Remy, Claressa whispered. This was not me. Someone planned this. Remy's head snapped upward. Planned by who? For what purpose? Claressa opened her mouth to respond, but Remy's phone buzzed violently beside her. When she read the message, her expression hollowed out. This time it was not anger. It was something far worse, fear. She handed the phone over with a trembling hand. The text was short, sent from an unknown number. If you think the photo is bad, wait until you see the video. Claressa felt her blood freeze in her veins. A video, she breathed. What video? Remy stepped closer, eyes sharp with accusation. What did you do with him? Claressa looked up slowly, dread spreading through her like poison. Nothing, she whispered. At least, I thought it was nothing. But memories rose like smoke. The car conversation. The emotional confessions. The night she broke down and Papoose held her a little too long. And then the other night, the one blurred by exhaustion, emotion, vulnerability. A night she had buried deep inside herself, swearing she would never let it surface again. If someone had footage of that night, it would not be a scandal. It would be annihilation. Remy paced the locker room like a predator deciding whether to pounce or retreat. Her eyes flicked to Claressa again and again, searching for truth, guilt, betrayal, or all three. Who knew where you two were that night? She demanded. Claressa could not answer. She did not trust anyone anymore. The arena felt haunted, not by ghosts but by secrets. And the whispers in the hallway grew louder, reporters murmuring, security guards exchanging glances, staff pretending not to stare as words spread like wildfire. Claressa had survived controversy before, but this felt biblical, personal, unstoppable, engineered. Suddenly her coach rushed back in, breathless. You need to see this. He shoved his phone out. A chilling message hovered across the screen, sent to dozens of verified accounts at once, almost like a prophecy written in digital slang. Tonight marks the fall of loyalty. The queen will confront the fighter. The husband will choose. And the truth will be revealed by the one who was never forgiven. Claressa's stomach twisted. The one who was never forgiven, she repeated. Remy went still. Ice cold. She knew exactly who it pointed to. Coco, she whispered. Remy's old rival. The woman she humiliated publicly years ago. The woman who swore revenge. The woman whose career collapsed and whose disappearance felt too convenient. She had history with Remy. She had unfinished business with Papoose. And she had every reason to ignite chaos. Before Claressa could process any of it, the hallway erupted with gossip from arena staff. Remy is losing it. Papoose just arrived backstage. Security told him to wait. Lil Mo is tweeting cryptic emojis. Someone said a video is dropping at midnight. It felt like a prophecy unfolding in real time, a curse tightening around all three of their throats. Claressa grabbed her bag, desperate to escape before the collapse became total. But the moment she stepped into the hallway, cameras flashed like lightning. Microphones swung toward her with ruthless speed. Did you break up Remy and Papoose? Is there a video? Is there a sex tape? Are you pregnant? Is Papoose with you right now? The questions pelted her like arrows. She felt dizzy, vision blurring, until Remy's voice cut through the chaos like a blade. Move. Remy shoved through the crowd, her presence alone enough to force reporters backward. Claressa still could not tell whether Remy was protecting her or cornering her. But right now they needed each other, if only to survive the vultures outside. They ducked into a side hallway, and froze. Papoose stood at the far end. Calm. Solid. Storm-eyed. We need to talk, he said quietly. But Remy let out a laugh, sharp, broken, lethal. Talk, she spat. Talk about what? The pictures? The messages? The fact that the entire world knew before I did. Papoose lifted his hands, trying to calm the storm. But Claressa saw it, the flicker of guilt in his eyes. He was hiding something, too. And whatever it was about to blow everything apart. Something in Papoose's eyes said there was more, something he refused to confess in front of Remy. Claressa instinctively stepped back, the fluorescent lights above them flickering as if they were reacting to the tension strangling the hallway. No one knew if it was faulty wiring or the energy between the three of them, but the air felt charged, electric, dangerous. Then it happened. One phone buzzed. Then another. Then another. All three screens lit up at once with the same notification, like a synchronized omen. New post from KO official. Claressa's heart slammed against her ribs. Remy cursed under her breath. Papoose closed his eyes, the expression of a man who already knew the blow that was coming. The post took its time loading, each second stretching out like fate slowly pulling back a curtain. It was not the video. Not yet. Instead, an image filled the screen. A photo of a wrinkled, handwritten letter. An apology letter. From Remy. Addressed to KO. Dated years ago. A letter that was never meant for the public. A letter tied to an incident the world had never heard about, something Remy had buried so deep she almost believed it no longer existed. KO's caption sliced straight through her composure. If the queen wants loyalty, she should start by telling the truth. Midnight, the world sees what she has been hiding. Remy's entire body went rigid. That was the punch no one saw coming. The viral countdown to midnight was not just about Claressa and Papoose. The looming video might not center them at all. It might be about Remy. Claressa staggered backward, the hallway tilting as the revelation crashed into her. This was never only about exposing us, she whispered, voice shaking. This was about destroying you. Remy said nothing. Papoose barely seemed to breathe. Midnight was racing toward them, and with it came the possibility that everything, marriage, careers, friendships, legacies, was seconds away from shattering.